I feel like a lot of people said it was very boring. I have mixed feelings. I thought Taylor Jenkins Reid like wrote this. I had to know what was gonna happen to these drafts. It's scary and her husband's turning into a shark. This book is so good. Hello, welcome to my channel. Today I'm gonna talk about all the books that I read in April. I'm gonna start off by reading my stats. I read 15 books in April, which was really good. I read 6 audiobooks and 9 immersion reads. I reread 2 books, and I did not read any from my 26 for 2026 priority TBR. Actually, I DNF'd 2 from my priority TBR, so. Okay, let's get into these books. The first book that I read in the month of April was a reread. I reread Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. I love this book. This is a really good classic, one I think everyone should read, and I think a lot of people do read this in school. But if you haven't read it, this is about Guy Montag, who is a fireman in a dystopian future. He is tasked with burning books, and he has a conversation with a little girl. I think she's like a teenager, and after he speaks with her, she moves into like his neighborhood. He starts to question his job, his marriage, the society, and starts to see that there might be something to books and like, why are they burning them? So I love it. I had a really good time rereading this. I think I enjoyed rereading it, like reading it the second time. I highlighted pages, I dog-eared pages. I love it. I love dystopian books, and this talks a lot about like the dangers of books and how powerful they are, and why in this dystopian future they need to not be around, because it's dangerous for people to have original thought and to have the knowledge that books contain. So very good book, love it. The next book, totally different. I read a romantasy. I read the book of Azrael by Nicole. I've had this book for a while. I bought this a while back. I don't think that I would have bought this now, but I was very excited when I learned that one of my YouTubers read this and loved it, so I decided to give it a try. This is an urban fantasy, urban romantasy about Deanna, who is a immortal monster who has to serve this very powerful, I don't think he's Fae. I don't remember exactly what he is, but his name is Caden, and she has to serve him. She's tasked with retrieving a relic for Caden, but she ends up crossing paths with the World Ender, the love interest, and they end up like working together to get this relic. It's forced proximity, enemies to lovers, but I had a good time with this. There was not too much spice in this first book, but I think book 2 is supposed to have a lot more spice. I think this was exactly what I needed. It was a fun urban fantasy, but I feel like I only need book 1. I don't plan to buy book 2, at least not right now. If I start to miss these characters, then maybe I'll listen to it, but I kind of feel like I got what I wanted from this book. It was a fun time, and I would maybe recommend it. If you like romantasies, I would say yeah. I know this has been around for a while. It's not new. I think actually the 4th or 5th book just came out, but I'm not a very big romance person, and I personally don't like a lot of spice, so this was fine for like me. I thought it was fun, and I liked the, like, I feel like there was good enough story without the spice, like it could hold its own. So this was the next book. I gave it 4 stars. I had a fun time with it. I then read The Clockwork Prince by Cassandra Clare, the second book in the Infernal Devices series. This is a historical fiction YA fantasy where there are all these magical beings, and this takes place in London during the Victorian times, and we are following a group of demon hunters. This is This is a love triangle. Our main character can transform into anyone as long as she's like holding a piece, something of theirs that they value. And there are two love interests who are demon hunters, and I really thought I was going to love this. I think it's the time period. I don't know that I love books set in Victorian time. I don't know. I cannot connect with these books, and I want to read book 3 to like confirm that I do not like this series, but this was fine. I thought maybe book 2 was gonna turn the whole series around for me, but I don't think it is a bad series. I think if you like YA, if you like YA romantasy and Victorian times, this would be perfect for you, but I can't connect with the characters. So unfortunately, I don't think the series is really for me. I gave this 3 stars. I do think that her writing could work for me. I think it's the time period. Ugh. Then another series, another YA series that let me down. I read the second book in the 5th Wave series, The Infinite Sea. I just don't like this series. This is a YA sci-fi and like just, yeah, post-apocalyptic sci-fi, and I don't like it. This reads very YA, and I like YA. Like some of my favorite books are YA, and this just reads too young. I think younger me would have liked this series. But in this series, in book 1, we're following Cassie, who has lived through 4 waves, 4 like catastrophes that affected the whole world. She is a high school student, which I think is what I have a problem with. I don't mind reading younger characters if it's like in a fantasy world, but when they're like in high school, having like high school problems in like our world, I can't connect with them very well. But she has survived 4 waves, and she's looking for her brother in book 1, who has been taken by some people, and she's basically just trying to stay alive for him because she wants to find him. I think I just wish it were like more intense, a little bit more scary. I wish that book 1 ended on more of a cliffhanger. I do wish that they were just older. And I don't know, just the dialogue bothers me. So I finished book 2, but I'm not gonna read book 3. I can't. Like, this book was so short and I was dying to finish it. So I gave this book 2 stars. The next book that I read, I listened to, and that is, I don't like to put pictures of books. I like to hold something. So I use my tablet, but there. I listened to Orbital by Samantha Harvey. This won the Booker Prize in 2023. Like, I remember when this won and everyone was reading it. And I feel like a lot of people said it was very boring. That's like what I remember about this book. So when I saw that it was available on Libby, I wanted to try it for myself. Orbital is a short, reflective novel that follows 6 astronauts from different countries living abroad the International Space Station over the course of one single day, which is 16 orbits of Earth. This is not a traditional story. This is interconnected moments, thoughts, observations of these 6 astronauts. It is a little, I don't want to say slow, but I guess so. Like, not a whole lot happens, but I enjoyed just the thoughts that these astronauts were having. I thought it was very beautiful. A lot of what was said, I was like, I would highlight this. It talked a lot about living on the International Space Station, what that's like, how difficult it is, but also how beautiful it is. They talked about like Earth, and I've heard this kind of described as like a love letter to Earth. I love that. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. I wouldn't mind having this in my collection. I will say, like, I do think, like, since not a lot happens, just be prepared for that if you read this. This is observations, thoughts, but it is interesting, and I do recommend it. I really enjoyed it. I recommend the audiobook for this. I gave it 4 stars. The next book that I read was Broken Country because everyone is reading it. Everyone loves it. I think, is this one going to be turned into a movie? I think it is. I don't want to say too much about the book because I went in very blind, and that was what was like recommended to me, you know, seeing other people's YouTube videos. But we're following Beth, the farmer's wife. Her first love, Gabriel Wolfe, returns to this small town in England. I don't really know exactly where it is, but this sparks emotional conflict. It opens up a very big can of worms. Secrets are revealed. It is a very interesting book. I think at one point though, I was getting kind of frustrated with the situation. I almost DNF'd it, but I did finish it, and the end made me cry, which I think it made everyone cry. Would I recommend it? Yes. I think it was very good. It was very sad. There were things about it that I didn't like, which I think was just, we're not supposed to like. And it was very frustrating. I read this so fast. I read this in a day because I had to know what was going to happen. I gave this 4 stars. I think it's a book that, like, I don't care to own. I enjoyed reading it, but it's not, I don't think it impacted me like everyone else, but it did make me cry. But yeah, things that our protagonist did, I was not okay with, and but I have mixed feelings. I could see why everyone was like reading it and loving it. So that was the next book that I read. After that, I read a historical fiction, West with Drafts by Lynda Rutledge. This is a really cool book because this is historical fiction about 2 drafts survived a hurricane during the Great Depression and traveled from New York to the San Diego Zoo. We're following a zookeeper who is tasked by San Diego Zoo to go get the drafts, and a boy, teenage boy, I think, who's run away from home during this, you know, the Great Depression, and he just has to be with these drafts. He wants to help this guy drive the drafts to San Diego, and the adventure that they have and the drama that happens getting these drafts there was very interesting. I was like thinking about this book when I was not reading it. I had to know what was going to happen to these drafts, and I really enjoyed learning about the Great Depression. I read 2 books that take place during this time period, and I've learned a lot. So the like drafts are real. They actually did survive a hurricane on their way to New York from Africa, and they did travel to San Diego Zoo. But the characters are fictional, and like all of the, I don't know what the word is, like they had a hard time getting across the country. It was kind of a dangerous time to do that, a very difficult time. So like the stuff that they encountered did not actually happen, or, you know, maybe, I'm sure it was not easy to get these drafts there, but I think it was embellished. It was good. It did make me tear up at the end, and I don't know that it should have. Like, I think it was a very good ending, but I think I might have just been tired, but it was so good. And I just loved the drafts, and yeah, I very much recommend it. It was not boring. I think sometimes, I don't know why, historical fiction, I'm just afraid it's going to be boring, and this was not boring. It was so interesting. I absolutely recommend this. I gave it 5 stars. I had a very good time with this book. I recommend. The next book that I read was Spectacular Things by Beth Dorey-stein. This is fiction. This was so good. This is for fans of Taylor Jenkins Reid. Like, this reminded me of Taylor Jenkins Reid so much. This story is following two stickers. This story is following two sisters, Mia and Cricket, and their mother, and this is about their passion for soccer. This book is about the sacrifices that this family made to get Cricket, the youngest of the two daughters, to the Olympics. How the mother sacrificed things for her and the older sister. Like, they gave up their dream of soccer so that Cricket could have everything she wanted, which was to go to the Olympics on the American like soccer team. I thought it was so good. This like the sacrifices the mother made and the sisterly love and I literally, like, I thought Taylor Jenkins Reid like wrote this. It is emotional, it's sad, it's so heartwarming. Sometimes you're super irritated with these characters, and I thought it was very good. I gave it 4 stars. I don't know why I've never heard of this book before. I think it came out last year and I've never heard anyone talk about it. So if you like Taylor Jenkins Reid, you know, kind of like a family story, specifically like sisters and mother, and yeah, if you like Taylor Jenkins Reid, you should read this book. My next read I annotated to death. I read Shark Heart by Emily Habeck. This is about Lewis and Wren, newlyweds. In their first year of marriage, Lewis is diagnosed with this disease, this genetic disease where he's going to turn into a great white shark. I believe the great white shark is a rare genetic disease, but you can be turned into a bird, you can be turned into a lizard. I think it's kind of rare, and it runs in families. It's very interesting. We're following, you know, Lewis as he's starting to change. Like, he still goes to work even though his like teeth are changing, his skin is changing. He has to start like kind of living in water, and he's slowly, you know, turning into a shark. Well, actually, I think the mutation for a great white shark is very fast. There are other mutations that take years. I think for him it's like 6 months. It's a fast one. And then we're following Wren as she's trying to help her husband. You know, his life is completely changed, and she has to adjust their lifestyle to help him. And he's also, you know, it's scary. Your husband's turning into a shark. And then we also follow another mutation of another character who is related to Wren, which I also thought was really interesting and sad. And I heard from another YouTuber that they didn't like that portion of the story. I did. I really liked to me, it did not take me out of the story, even though they're like completely 2 different mutations during 2 different times. I liked kind of seeing 2 different ways that the mutation can kind of go, and how difficult it is for the person who is changing and for the people around them. And it is very sad. I annotated it a lot. I had a really good time reading this. It's also a very short read. Like, the book is kind of deceptive because a lot of the pages have like very little written on them. Let me show you an example. Like, a lot of them are like this, like where like that, like, see how little text is actually there. And I really, really liked the perspective of Lewis because he was a teacher, and I love books about teachers, especially like, you know, a good teacher. And he teaches, I think he teaches theater, not art, but it's like in the arts. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I recommend it. I thought it was really good. My next read, oh my gosh. I finally read a Kristin Hannah. I know she's a super popular author, and I loved this book. I want a physical copy of the 2 books that I read by her this month. I read The Great Alone, by Kristin Hanna, and I don't even think this is her most popular book. I think Nightingale and The Woman are more popular than this one. This is a little bit older. This book is so good. In this book, we're following a small family, Ernst Albright, his wife, and their daughter Lenny. Ernst has just returned back from the Vietnam War, and his buddy, his like best friend, died and gifted him his home in Alaska. Ernst and his family don't have money. He wants a fresh start for them, so they up and moved to Alaska, to the middle of like nowhere, to this super small town, like off the grid. And this is about them learning to survive in Alaska during the 70s. And this is a book about abuse. Ernst Albright came back from the war a very changed man, and his family suffers because of it. This book captivated me. Like, I feel like I was there with these characters. She is a fantastic writer. Like, she makes you feel so strongly for her characters, and you, like, I feel like I could see it like it was a movie. This book was so emotional. I cried at the end. You wanted to scream at these characters. It was so emotional, it was so good. I love this book. I want a physical copy, and I believe this is going to be turned into a movie soon, and I want this cover before it's turned into a movie. Highly recommend. This was 5 stars. This reminds me of being like younger and reading historical fiction. I used to read like only historical fiction, and I haven't read historical fiction in years, I feel. And this month I've read quite a bit, and this, I feel like younger me would have loved this book as well. Like, I should have read this so long ago. This was fantastic, so I highly recommend. After reading The Great Alone, I was like, this author is amazing. I need to read everything she's written. So I read The Four Winds by Kristin Hanna. This book is heartbreaking. Oh my God. It's so, so good. In this book, we're following Elsa, a woman of wealth. Her family like owns a farm, ranch, and she does not fit in with her family. She's looked at as the ugly one. Like, they think she's never gonna get married. Very Christian home, but she is determined to like live a little bit, and she gets pregnant. And her family disowns her and gives her to the family, this Italian family, of the son who got her pregnant. And she goes from like a life of leisure, of wealth, to learning how to run a ranch, like a farm ranch. I think it's a ranch. I don't know. And it's hard work, and she's determined to contribute to this family. And then the Dust Bowl happens like years later. This book is very interesting because it takes place like pre-Dust Bowl, where all these farmers were like prospering. The wet season, I think that's what that time period was called, to the Dust Bowl, which I did not really know anything about. And I'm from Texas, like I feel like I should know. And then the the Depression, which like kind of overlapped. It so good. Like, if you want to cry, read this book. Super interesting, learning about the Dust Bowl, because it goes into like why this happened, what the farmers need to do to fix this, because they caused the Dust Bowl without knowing it. And then the migration of the like southern states to California, because all the families, like, you know, the farms were, the Dust Bowl like destroyed people's lives, and they thought California was this place to go where there's all these jobs and everything's great. And so tons of people, it's like one of the biggest migrations in the US, migrated to California and were treated very poorly there, and they were called Okies, even if they were from Texas, and how they suffered in California. And yeah, read this book. It's so good. cried at the end, of course. Loved it, gave it 5 stars. I also want a physical copy of this book. Then I had another reread. I reread Klara and the Sun. I rated it the same the second time around. I really like this book. It's very good. I thought I might like love it the second time around, and I still feel good about it. I still really like it. We're following Klara, an AI companion who starts off with her living in a store, waiting by the window to be bought, to be a companion to a child. And she becomes a companion to a little girl who has health issues. And it follows her with this family, learning about what it is to be human, how to help this little girl, and she's trying to help this little girl so much. It's very good. It is slower. It's not like a ton happens in this book. You know, I love the discussion of like what it means to be human. This does not really discuss like the issues with AI. I know one of my YouTubers just recently read this and thought it was going to be kind of about like the current discussion of AI. Yeah, that's not what this is. Yeah, we really like Klara. She's so like innocent and has a very like heartwarming like relationship with her little girl that she's taking care of. Feels a very strong connection with the son. I don't think this should be turned into a movie. I don't know why every book has to be turned into a movie. It's an issue I have. And I really don't think that this should be, because this is like, she's an AI doll, and I think this could look really creepy in a movie. I don't think it needs to be a movie. I suggest reading the book, but just kind of know this does not cover like the conversation of like AI issues like now and like the dangers of AI. That's not what this is about. And it is a slower, just kind of more beautiful book. Not a whole ton happens. So, but it is a short read and I think it's very good. I gave this a 3.5, which is what I rated it, I think, initially. I like it. I do recommend it. I then read A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms by George R.R. Martin. I really want to see the show now. This is 3 stories in one book. We are following a hedge knight named Sir Duncan and his, what do you call them? And his squire, Egg, and 3 adventures that they have. And I don't really want to say too much about it, but this is like 100 years before Game of Thrones. So it's interesting learning about the different houses that are like not around during Game of Thrones. I feel the same way about the show with the dragons, which I did not read that book. But I like seeing like Game of Thrones, but like before Daenerys. This was really like cute. I like the adventures that they had. I also love that there are pictures. It's a very like immersive read. It's very fun to read this book. And I think the first and the third story were my favorite. The second one was still good, but I preferred the first and the third. And after finishing this, I wanted like book 2. But my understanding, my sister was telling me that George R.R. Martin was gonna write more books and decided to just give the stories to HBO, and that's how the show came about. So there's more in the show than in the book. But I want to see the show. I think it's going to be really good. I then read a standalone fantasy, which was awesome. I read Martha Wells' City of Bones. Martha Wells wrote the Murderbot series, which I have not read. I tried to watch the show and I didn't like it. But this is a standalone fantasy. Now this is kind of hard to describe, so I am going to refer to my notes. We're following Kat, a member of the humanoid race created by the ancients to survive the waste. This takes place in a like harsh desert world built on the ruins of an ancient civilization. And Kat is a relic dealer. He becomes entangled with an ambitious scholar named Ellen and a dangerous political and religious conspiracy involving powerful artifacts from an ancient past. He has to find certain artifacts with Ellen, and it's very dangerous. It's very fun. There's like pirates in like the sand in this like ancient city. It kind of reminded me of Mad Max a little bit. Kat and his partner and Ellen find themselves as the last line of defense between the suffering masses of Kasserine and the cult bent on unleashing an evil upon the city with an undying thirst for bone that they did not expect. This is quite an adventure. A lot happens and you have to pay attention. It is a little bit confusing because the magic, like the people who wield magic don't fully understand it. And they're like kind of, some people are hoping that these relics are going to help them understand the magic. We're like learning along with these characters. It's kind of confusing, but so interesting and lots going on. I really appreciated the ending. This felt like a movie. This would make a cool movie. I really enjoyed it. I love that it's a standalone, and it was really fun. It's hard to describe, but it kind of reminded me of like Mad Max a little bit. I had a fun time with this, but it was definitely like jam-packed with stuff happening. And then my last read is this little book, Breed to Come by Andre Norton. This was fun. This is like Planet of the Apes. This is a post-apocalyptic sci-fi where humans have left Earth after this plague. Intelligent, evolved cats now rule Earth, and they have their own, and they're called the people. They have their own like laws, they have their own traditions, and they have enemies, the Rattans, who are evolved rats, and the Barkers, the dogs. And they live in fear that the demons, who are the humans, are going to return to Earth. And that happens. I thought this could have been like longer. I had so much fun following our protagonist. Fertig is our protagonist. And I like learning about like their society, how they like find their mate, and like the tradition of like fighting for a chooser. That's what the women are called, because the women actually choose. And how they have their weapons, and how different cats can be even more like human than others. Some have evolved a little bit more and have like more like human fingers and like less fur. It's very interesting. I could have had so much more of the people, of the cats, like learning about them and following more of Fertig and his like adventure. I thought this was really good. It's a fun little book, and I like the discussion of just like humans, how they mess everything up, and they go to another planet and like mess up that planet. So this was a fun book. And I mean, look at this cool cover. This is so cool. Like, if I were a book designer, I would design cool retro covers like this. So I read a lot of good books. I also DNF'd quite a few books, and I thought those would be fun to discuss as well. I really gave myself freedom this month to just DNF lots of books. I DNF'd Victorian Psycho by Virginia Vito? I don't know. I wanted to read this for a while, but I think I don't really like horror that has children. After having a child, I can't. And I think bad things were gonna happen to the children in this book. I think in the book they kind of like deserve it, but I couldn't. I didn't want to read about it, and the cover's so cool, so I was really bummed. I did DNF a Kristin Hanna. I DNF'd Firefly Lane. This is different to our other books because this is not historical fiction. We're following two friends that are very different, have very different lives. One of the friends has like a mother that is super absent, just kind of lets her do whatever, and then the other one has like loving parents that maybe are a little bit more controlling, and how they kind of both want each other's lives. However, all this book did was make me worry about my daughter because of the things that these girls were having to deal with, like with boys doing bad things, and reading this just made me worry, and I was like, I don't need this. And I think if I read a Kristin Hanna, I want it to be historical fiction. And I think most of her books are, but this one is not, and I just didn't feel as connected to it, so I did DNF it. I DNF'd Savage Land. This is a romantasy that I bought a while back that I would not buy now. And my issue with this was that it's very similar to a book I just read where our protagonist is put in a prison and there's this really handsome prisoner in there too. This is like dystopian, but it's so similar to a book I just read, another romantasy, and I was like, I don't care, I'll sell this book, someone else will love it. And it was too similar to a book I just read, and I was like, I don't want to read a romantasy, but I wanted to try it because I bought it. I DNF'd White Horse. I almost just got rid of this without reading it, but I thought I would give it a try. I did not like our protagonist. This is about a daughter whose mother is passed, and there is a bracelet that kind of has mystical, I don't want to say this incorrectly, but like it's connected to the mother and she sees her mother's ghost. I did not get very far in this. Our protagonist cussed so much and I just did not like her. It felt excessive and I just did not want to be in her brain. So I did DNF this. I also DNF'd Powerless by Laura Roberts. I really wanted to love this. When I bought this, I was so excited and I got far in this book and I just don't think this is well written. There are people that have powers and the people that don't have powers were like killed off, and she does not have powers and she's pretending to. I don't know. I just don't think it's good. And I was very disappointed, but I was going to push through and I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot read this book. And the last book that I DNF'd, oh there's thunder, which is painful, The Sons of Darkness by this author. This is a retelling of a story I do not know. Indian folklore, I want to say. I could be saying that wrong. I so badly wanted to love this. Like, look at this beautiful book. I was told that this is dark, a little bit of a harder read. Oh, I do not want to lose this. I did not know what in the world was going on for the longest time. I was reading it so slow. I was immersion reading it and I was just like, what is happening in this book? And I read some people say that like the first half is really confusing, but get to the second half it gets better, and I was so incredibly lost. And it wasn't even like it's just kind of hard, it just was so confusing. And I did not care enough about this retelling to persevere. I was getting so frustrated with it, so I did DNF it, and I hope someone else loves this. I think this is it's a retelling, but it's also kind of inspired by Game of Thrones. I read the author say that somewhere. Like, there are houses, and I just didn't care enough. And I think there are other high fantasies that I would rather spend time on and like really immerse myself into this book that I don't know that I like his writing, and I think that the story was just really confusing. All right, so my biggest disappointment was Clockwork Prince, because I really thought this was going to turn around the series for me because everyone apparently loves the second book more. So this was my most disappointing read. My worst book was definitely The Infinite Sea. This was, I probably should just DNF this. This was the worst book that I read. My biggest surprise was hard because I feel like I was surprised by a lot of books this month, but I was really surprised by Spectacular Things because I went into this not expecting like anything, and it was really good. But I feel that way about a lot of these, so, but this is like the one I'm going with my gut. My favorite book was The Great Alone by Kristin Hannah, but really close was The Four Winds. Like, I kind of go back and forth a little bit, but I think it's this one. I so badly want both of these physically in my collection. and I want to read more of her books. I really want to read The Nightingale by that author and The Winter Garden. That is my April wrap up. I had a lot of fun talking about these books. I found some new favorites this month, which was awesome. Thanks so much for hanging out with me while I talked about my April reads. Let me know what your favorite book of April was or what you were reading in April, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.